Hello, my friend. It can grow larger than a refrigerator, live for half a century, and fetch more than $20 per pound on the world's finest tables. But the story of Atlantic halibut is more than size and value. It's a tale of overfishing, recovery, and the fragile future of ocean giants. Meet the Atlantic halibut, the ocean's hidden giant. The Atlantic halibut, Hippoglossus hippoglossus, is the largest flatfish in the North Atlantic. Can reach lengths of 8 feet, 2.4 meters, weigh up to 700 pounds, 318 kilograms. Live for over 50 years. Found from the icy fjords of Norway and Greenland to the cold waters of New England and Canada, this apex predator rules the seabed, preying on smaller fish, squid, and crustaceans. What sets halibut apart? Both eyes migrate to one side of its body during development. Its enormous diamond-shaped profile blends seamlessly into sandy or muddy bottoms. Renowned for firm, pearly white flesh and delicate, sweet flavor. A fish steeped in history and myth. Atlantic halibut has fueled economies and cultures for centuries. Revered by Vikings as a holy fish, its name derives from hali, holy, and but, flatfish. Key food source for coastal indigenous peoples and early European settlers. In the 1800s, massive schooners fished out of Gloucester, New England, hauling in hundreds of tons annually. At its peak, US and Canadian landings topped 60,000 metric tons per year in the late 19th century. Collapse and conservation, a cautionary tale. By the 1950s, relentless fishing, especially bottom trawling, had decimated wild stocks. Spawning biomass in the Northwest Atlantic dropped by over 95%. Halibut disappeared from traditional grounds off Cape Cod and the Grand Banks. In 1996, NOAA listed Atlantic halibut as depleted, and the species has never fully recovered. Key reasons: slow growth, doesn't mature until 8 to 12 years old. Low reproductive rates, few eggs, high juvenile mortality. Vulnerability to bycatch, juveniles easily caught by trawl and longline. Modern management now includes severe catch limits, large closed areas, strict bycatch reduction requirements. Total U.S. commercial landings, 2022, only 124 metric tons versus 60,000 in 1880s. Fisheries today. Where and how is Atlantic halibut caught? Main regions: Canada, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland and Labrador, Gulf of St. Lawrence. New England, Gulf of Maine, George Bank. Northern Europe, Norway, Iceland, UK, Faroe Islands. Gear types: long lines, minimize bycatch, favored for high-quality catch. Handlines and rods, used by small boat fisheries, especially for dayboat halibut. Demersal trawls, used less today, strict area and gear restrictions. Fact: over 90% of wild Atlantic halibut now comes from Canadian waters. Norway and Iceland contribute significant farmed halibut production. Aquaculture, farming the giant. Due to wild depletion and rising demand, Atlantic halibut aquaculture has grown rapidly since the early 2000s. Norway is the global leader, producing over 2,200 metric tons, 2022. Iceland and Scotland are expanding capacity. Land-based recirculating aquaculture systems, RAS, are being piloted in the US and Canada farming process. Hatcheries raise halibut from eggs to juvenile fingerlings. Fish are transferred to large marine net pens or on-land tanks, fed a precise diet of marine proteins and oils for 3 to 5 years before harvest. Benefits: relieves pressure on wild stocks, provides consistent, high-quality fillets, enables traceability and disease control. Challenges: high energy costs, slow growth rate, and space needs. Escapes and genetic impacts if not tightly regulated. Science and sustainability. Rebuilding a resource management agencies on both sides of the Atlantic now use. Stock assessments, acoustic surveys, tagging, genetic studies. Quotas and individual transferable quotas, ITQs. Strict annual harvest caps. Spawning closures, protecting critical habitats and spawning seasons. NOAA's 2023 stock assessment shows U.S. Atlantic halibut biomass at 86% of unfished levels, but slowly rising. In Canada, limited harvests and area closures are helping stocks recover, with some areas showing 20 to 30% increases over the last decade. The Marine Stewardship Council, MSC, has certified several small-scale halibut fisheries in Norway and Iceland as sustainable culinary excellence, the chef's favorite Atlantic. Halibut's flesh is firm and flaky, yet tender. Clean, mildly sweet, with a buttery finish. Low in fat, high in protein. It's prized by chefs for grilling, roasting, pan-searing, and poaching. Standing up to bold flavors, herbs, citrus, and spice. Sushi and sashimi, when properly handled for safety. Price: U.S. retail for premium fresh fillet, $22 to $30 lbs. Restaurant menu. Price: $35 $60 per entree. It features in Michelin-starred menus, wedding banquets, cruise ships, and upscale seafood markets from New York to Tokyo. Nutritional and health profile per 100 g cooked Atlantic halibut. Calories: 110. Protein: 23 g. Fat: 2-3 g, mostly unsaturated. Omega-3s: 400 to 800 mg. Vitamins and minerals: B12, selenium, phosphorus, magnesium. Low in mercury and contaminants compared to other large predatory fish. It's recommended for heart health, muscle repair, and low-calorie, high-protein diets. Economic value. Who benefits? Atlantic halibut supports coastal fishing communities in Canada, Iceland, and Norway. Hundreds of jobs in harvesting, processing, distribution. Small-scale fishers and indigenous groups with limited high-value quotas. Global halibut market value, all species, over $400 million USD, 2023. Wild Atlantic halibut makes up 110% of global halibut sales. Rest is Pacific and farmed. Premium status ensures higher profit per pound than cod, haddock, or pollock. Export trends. Live and fresh fillets shipped to US, EU, China, and Japan. Norway and Iceland lead exports in farmed product. Some US restaurants feature traceable catch from named vessels. Market trends, challenges, and the future trends. Consumer demand for traceability, sustainability, and local seafood. High-end grocers and restaurants pushing MSC certified and wild-caught. Online seafood sales and subscription boxes driving direct-to-consumer growth. Challenges. Climate change. Warming waters may shrink suitable habitat and disrupt spawning. Illegal, unreported, and unregulated IUU fishing in parts of the North Atlantic. Slow recovery of wild stocks means price volatility and supply limits. Opportunities. Aquaculture innovation, land-based, closed systems. Policy harmonization across countries, eco-labeling, and consumer education. Lessons from the Atlantic halibut. The story of Atlantic halibut is a cautionary epic, a resource once thought inexhaustible, nearly lost to human appetite, now carefully managed on the knife edge between commerce and conservation. With patience, science, and public demand for sustainability, the halibut can remain not just a delicacy, but a symbol of ecological humility, of the value in slow, careful stewardship, of our power to rebuild what we nearly destroyed. Final thought. If we can save the halibut, perhaps we can save the future of seafood itself. Have you ever tasted Atlantic halibut? Was it wild, farmed, or locally caught? Should governments limit halibut fishing even further, or invest in sustainable aquaculture? Share your experiences and opinions in the comments. Subscribe to AGRI 360X for more deep dives into the world's most fascinating food stories. New episodes daily at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m.